Welcome to the Jenna Ellis Show, sponsored by Legacy Precious Metals. There has never been a better time to invest in precious metals. Visit legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com. Good evening and welcome to Jenna Ellis Tonight. So another major shakeup for the congressional House majority for the Republicans, and it's an even slimmer majority now that Colorado Congressman Ken Buck has announced his resignation at the end of next week. He had already announced that he wasn't going to run for re-election, but now he is actually resigning earlier than November. So what does this mean for the future of Colorado? Well, this is what Ken Buck had to say in his resignation letter. He said, "It has been an honor to serve the people of Colorado's 4th District in Congress over the past 9 years. I want to thank them for their support and encouragement throughout the years. Today, I'm announcing that I will depart Congress at the end of next week. I look forward to staying involved in our political process, as well as spending more time in Colorado and with my family." So Ken Buck also had this to say to reporters who caught him in the congressional hallway yesterday.
This place just keeps going downhill, and I don't need to spend my time here. We've taken impeachment and we've made it a social media issue as opposed to a constitutional concept. Mike Johnson's ability to talk me into staying here is going to be about as successful as his ability into talking me into unconstitutional impeachments.
Joining me now is Colorado's GOP leader and chairman, Dave Williams, who is a former Colorado state representative and current congressional candidate for Congress from Colorado, but separate district. So Dave, thanks so much for joining. And there has now been an announcement by Jared Polis, Colorado's governor, that the special election for Ken Buck's district to fill his term until the regular election in November will happen on June 25th, which also happens to be the primary date. So Lauren Boebert, who is switching from the 3rd district to the 4th district, has announced that she is not going to run in the special election. So clear up some confusion here, because even Republicans in name only like Adam Kinzinger are posting and tweeting, I think, a little bit of misconceptions about what even Lauren Boebert can and can't do in terms of running in this district. So this is a very hotly contested primary. How is this shaping up in Colorado?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pretty confusing scenario. I think everyone agrees with that. Ultimately, what's going to happen is that the Congressional District 4 Party Central Committee is going to select a nominee for the special election. That nominee is going to stand for the special election the same day as the primary, and then they will serve the remainder of Ken Buck's term for 6 months or so. Lauren Boebert is technically able to run for that vacancy or that nomination for the special election, but she's choosing not to because it would effectively allow for a slimmer 2-person majority if she did that. At least that's what she's said she's doing. I think the bigger play on this, and I think it's probably fair to say that Ken Buck, in addition to him just not wanting to be in Washington, probably wants to give a leg up to one of Lauren's competitors by giving one of her competitors this quasi-incumbency factor that they themselves can go ahead and lean on for the remainder of the primary. So I think that's probably what a lot of the pundits are talking about, and there's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, and it seems that that Ken Buck's resignation was specifically targeting Lauren Boebert, who is switching from the 3rd to the 4th district. But but the 4th district is very heavily Republican, so likely, at least what pundits are saying, and I would agree with this, likely whoever wins that primary is going to go ahead and win the election. So where does the Colorado GOP, in terms of the party, stand in terms of supporting that primary and getting out at least the correct information to voters, unlike what some people like Adam Kinzinger are suggesting, which is that Lauren Boebert, who currently holds a congressional seat, can't run in that election. And that's not accurate, which is what you've pushed back on.
Yeah, well, the first thing we've been nailing down is the specifics, how the actual vacancy process is going to work so that we can have a nominee that will be on the special election ballot to fulfill Ken's term. We're trying to just get a handle on that. And then once we know what that looks like, we're going to put all the information out to voters so that they understand that this is a special election just for the remainder of Ken Buck's term, and that everything below that, because we all think it's going to be on the same ballot, so the primary election, presumably below that, is going to be for the 2025 through 2027 term in the next Congress. But Lauren Boebert can run for that special election if she wanted to, but she's making a decision to not do that and instead just fulfill the remainder of her term in CD3.
Yeah, which all of that makes sense, and it's interesting that Boebert's rationale is that would be an even slimmer majority. But if she were to win the special election hypothetically, and then basically just move seats and become the quasi-incumbent of CD4, then there would ostensibly be a special election for her seat that will be open. So I'm not really sure how that makes sense in terms of her rationale, but we'll leave that for another day. But in terms of the politics of Colorado, you've been involved for a really long time. You and I actually go way back in terms of Colorado local politics, as my former home state, and so you are now running for Congress and trying, I think, to turn Colorado red again. What is the emphasis of your campaign, and what do you see as the overall view of Colorado politics in general? I mean, we just came off of this historic win, I think, for the Constitution, with the United States Supreme Court overturning a ridiculous opinion out of the Colorado Supreme Court. So there's been a lot of attention to Colorado specifically heading into 2024.
Yeah, I think things are looking up. Colorado has certainly been in a tough shape for Republicans, especially the last 3 election cycles where you've had historic loss after historic loss. But because of the overreach that we're seeing from Democrats in the state and the bad, I think, national environment with Joe Biden in the White House, you're seeing a lot of folks that are starting to get it. They're starting to rethink their position. And even in Colorado, where Donald Trump didn't do so well in 2020, he's actually gaining ground. He's only down by about 7 points, and that's pretty significant when you compare it to the 2022 election results, when our gubernatorial nominee lost by about 20%, and then our Senate nominee lost by about 15%. So we are making gains, and we expect that the Republican Party is going to be on a rebound. Specifically, I'm running because Washington, D.C. is broken. We have too many say-anything politicians in both sides of the aisle who are serving themselves, whether it's through insider trading or doing whatever they can with special interest groups, that we need to start sending champions for the Constitution and for the American people there, instead of the same old politicians who are ruining our lives.
Yeah, well, I know you to be a very stalwart conservative. And so, Dave Williams, really appreciate your time today and clarifying that for all of the voters out of Colorado. We'll be right back with more here on Jenna Ellis Tonight. Throughout history, there are clear moments that define our nation's path, and now you can own a piece of that history. I'm thrilled to announce the official Newt Gingrich contract with America coin from our friends at Legacy Precious Metals in partnership with Speaker Gingrich. This limited edition 1 ounce 99.99% silver coin commemorates the historic victory in 1994 when the Republican Party, under Speaker Gingrich's guidance, took control of Congress. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin also symbolizes the transformative political platform that led to the landmark achievements like the overhaul of the U.S. welfare system and the Balanced Budget Act. This is a limited edition coin that will sell out. So whether you're looking for the perfect gift or you want to own a piece of history, act fast before they run out. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin is more than an investment. It's a tribute to honest government and America. You can order it online at newtgingrichsilvercoin.com. That's newtgingrichsilvercoin.com, and use promo code Jenna, that's JENNA, to get $10 off your purchase. Go to newtgingrichsilvercoin.com now. Well, it's Thursday, so you know what that means. It is time for our Thursday Roundup with our Power Panel. Joining me today is John Cardillo, who is a former NYPD officer and Republican strategist. And then we got two Democrats on today to maybe defend Joe Biden. So they are Robin Biro, who's a Democrat strategist, and Rob Patillo, a Democrat strategist as well. So 2-on-1, John, but I think you can handle it. So gentlemen, thanks so much for joining
Bring it
today.
on, Jenna.
All right. Excellent. All right. So our first topic today, Joe Biden, of course, had that, in my opinion, disastrous State of the Union. Looked like he was high on something to get through that as an angry man. But then he called immigrants illegals, and specifically the illegal that murdered the Georgia student, which was terribly tragic in response to heckling from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But then he went on mainstream media and walked that back and apologized. Listen to this.
I noticed the look of surprise on your face when you walked into the chamber and you saw Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was priceless. You feigned shock at seeing her. But during your response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing. We have to control the border and more orderly flow, but I don't share his view at all.
So you regret using that word?
Yes.
All right, Rob, we'll give you the first stab at this. So undocumented versus illegal. I mean, come on, they are illegals. And really, they built this country?
Absolutely. A big portion of the country that are coming into illegally used to be their country up until the Mexican-American War. If you want to look at American population growth, for example, versus places like China, India, and Japan, which are losing millions of people per year, or even Western Europe, the reason our population is growing is because of immigration. And there's no such thing as an illegal human being. You can be undocumented, you cannot have the right paperwork, but I don't think anyone would have gone to Ellis Island 100 years ago and told those European immigrants you're illegal, turn back around. I think President Biden is making a very clear distinction that he believes that we are a nation of borders, or we're a nation of liberty, but also a nation of laws, and we have to change those immigration laws, which Republicans have been blocking for the last 25 years.
Well, John, so what's your response to that? Because, Biden doesn't seem very concerned about going with the law and actually having the rule of law when he is helping fly over 350,000 illegals. And I'm going to call them illegals because that's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, look, with all the respect to Rob, Joe Biden isn't clear on anything. He's mumbling some incoherent babble like the incapacitated vegetable that he is. Quick side note, MSNBC should be filing an FEC disclosure because that was an in-kind campaign contribution. That was not a hard news interview. That was public relations for the Biden administration. These people are illegal aliens. They came into this country illegally. And it is a preposterous assertion. It's completely asinine to say they built this country. Okay, they were not coming over here in droves during the Industrial Revolution putting up skyscrapers. Yeah, they work on farms and they have those types of jobs, but let's also be realistic here. The gangs, MS-13, the Mexican mafia, the cartels, the new gangs popping up out of Venezuela that are displacing MS-13. All of these criminal actors, these organized criminal actors, and they number in the hundreds of thousands, possibly in the low millions with all their affiliates out there on the streets, dealing drugs, killing American citizens like Laken Riley, who Joe Biden, by the way, disgracefully called Lincoln Riley. The president of the United States couldn't even get the kid's name right. The man is completely unfit for office. These are illegals coming across. These are criminals. These are terrorists. The myth of, the poor single mother coming for a better life. Come on. You look at these videos from the border. These are fighting aged males. Explain to me why 30 or so fighting aged males, military fit, came across our southern border. It wasn't to apply to MIT in the astrophysics department. We know what's going on here, and Democrats want to make believe this is not an existential threat to the United States and Americans, but it most certainly is.
So, Robin Biro, let's bring you in here. So, you've heard kind of both sides. What's your take on this? And particularly what Rob said. I mean, these illegals are not coming through Ellis Island, like they did 100 years ago, that actually went through the process, though. I mean, it's very different than being flown across the border or coming in illegally and against the current immigration system that we have set up.
Sure. And thank you for that question. Look, over 1 million people a year immigrate to our country legally, and we welcome them with open arms. My grandparents did. So, we love that, and we'd love to see that. But what we saw in the video was Joe Biden unfiltered. And frankly, I would like to see more of that. I remember when I was a teenager seeing Bill Clinton talk about illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. That's, now, sure, we can say undocumented citizens. To me, that's just politically correct culture. And it's not something that I think we need to be embracing right now as Democrats. Just call it for what it is. But I do want to say, look, you can make fun of Joe Biden for maybe mispronouncing Laken Riley's name and saying Lincoln Riley. But I saw President Trump sign her name with the incorrect spelling. So look, you've got two people, one who's 77 and one who's 81. I think it just comes with the territory of both of them being elderly.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that and that setup actually in the next segment of Trump versus Biden. So great segue. But John, in the last about 30 seconds we have here, since you're the only Republican on the panel today, I'll give you the last shot at this topic.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm with Ryan that even Bill Clinton called them illegal aliens. I mean, we remember when he sent a custom SWAT team down for that little kid in Miami. So I mean, we've got that famous image of the kid and his aunt with the submachine gun being held to their head because he was enforcing immigration law. So how far we've come. I mean, I think to Robin's point about Bill Clinton would probably be an America First Republican by today's standards, considering how far both parties have slid left. And my last word is, look, I wish we had a young option. I think it's preposterous in a nation of 330 million. We have two.
Yeah, 100%. We got to leave it there. But let's continue to talk about the two octogenarians when we come back with our power panel on Thursday's Roundup right after this. As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the Giza Dream bed sheets. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike found the world's best cotton. It is ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's Giza sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. The Giza Dream Sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors. Mike's latest incredible deal is the sale of the year. For a limited time, you will receive 50% off the Giza Dream Sheets. You will also receive a set for as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com, click on the radio podcast square, and use the promo code Jenna. There you will find not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow 2.0 mattress topper, which I have and I love, the MyPillow kitchen towel sets, and now even flannel sheets and so much more. We definitely need flannel sheets for as crazy as all of this weather has been lately. So go to mypillow.com and make sure you use the promo code Jenna or call 1-800-564-8475. That's 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna. We are back with our power panel for Thursday's Roundup as we continue with John Cardillo, Rob Patillo, and Robin Biro. And gentlemen, the die is cast. We are going to get a repeat of 2020 Trump versus Biden. So everybody has a lot of feelings about this. This was the Real Clear Politics current poll average showing that Trump is up overall, up 2.1 percentage points up. And we've seen at least the first campaign ad from Biden, as well as the first response to Super Tuesday from Donald Trump. So here's kind of going to be the clash here. Let's show Biden's ad first.
Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret. But here's the deal. I understand how to get things done for the American people. I led the country through the COVID crisis. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world. I passed a law that lowers prescription drug prices, caps insulin at $35 a month for seniors. For 4 years, Donald Trump tried to pass an infrastructure law, and he failed. I got it done. Now we're rebuilding America. I passed the biggest law in history to combat climate change because our future depends on it. Donald Trump took away the freedom of women to choose. I'm determined to make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again. Donald Trump believes the job of the president is to take care of Donald Trump. I believe the job of the president is to fight for you, the American people, and that's what I'm doing. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Can we do one more take?
Look, I'm very young, energetic, and handsome. What the hell am I doing this for?
All right. All right, so that was Joe Biden. And by contrast, Donald Trump just spoke off the cuff. We don't know really if he had a teleprompter, but it was definitely not an overproduced message. This is what Donald Trump had to say.
Hello, everyone. It's your favorite president speaking to you on a really great day of victory. 1 week ago, we had something called Super Tuesday, and it was indeed super, because we won at numbers that nobody has ever seen before, records in virtually every state. And tonight, likewise. But this one got us over the top. The Republican National Committee has just declared us the official nominee. And so we're the official nominee of the Republican Party, which is a big deal. But most importantly, we now have to go into victory because our country's in serious trouble. We have millions and millions of people flowing in. We have no respect on the world stage. What we say doesn't mean a thing anymore. And to have that happen is unthinkable. We have an economy that outside of certain little areas is doing very poorly. And we have something very, very important. We have a United States military that has to be taken care of. Again, this was a great day of victory. Last week was something very special, Super Tuesday, but now we have to get back to work because we have the worst president in the history of our country. His name is Joe Biden, sometimes referred to as Crooked Joe Biden.
All right, John, what did you think of the setup between Trump versus Biden?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to buy a reverse mortgage from those guys. I mean, this is preposterous. This is ridiculous. When Biden can barely speak, they probably had to do 47 takes. I mean, look, Trump said exactly what we expect him to say. I mean, I don't know if the whole underproduced video thing is a good strategy or not, depending on where it's being disseminated. But I don't think there are any surprises there. And to the RCP poll, no surprises there either. I mean, look, the economy is not doing well, no matter what Biden tries to tell you. I went to Publix yesterday, bought 7 or 8 basic things. It was $80. And I didn't buy anything expensive, like shampoo, some soap, a watermelon. It was like $80, all right? And I drive a diesel truck. Gas, diesel fuel is up in the mid-4s, close to on to $5 again. And, you know, the people are struggling. And that border is on everybody's mind because they're seeing people killed. They're seeing stories of more people being killed in drunk driving accidents due to illegals. We just had 3 illegals here in Florida abduct a woman and sexually abuse her in a vehicle in a pretty good neighborhood, actually an upper middle class to affluent area. And so no surprise that Trump is winning. Frankly, I'm shocked the Democrats kept Biden. But I fear, Jenna, there's going to be a lot of apathy, a lot of boredom, and a lot of people are going to sit out. And I think time will tell who RFK draws votes from. But in terms of those polls, sure, Trump's got a little bump, but I don't know how much enthusiasm and turnout there's going to be. And it doesn't help when guys like Mike Lindell are telling Republicans only vote on election day, don't early vote, don't mail in. So I think we have a lot of work to do if we want to take back the White House.
Yeah, well, Robin, what did you make of the 2 ads? I mean, do you think that this is actually convincing anyone, especially people who aren't octogenarian voters?
I love the way you phrased that. Look, I think, it's trench warfare, basically. It's politics is now a blood sport. So all is fair. But my bigger question is, how do pundits still have jobs? Because they've had every poll wrong since 2016. And honestly, they make minor adjustments to the metrics each time, so they're getting a little bit better. But I can pull 3 polls right now that show Joe Biden in the lead. I'm still just not really giving much credibility to any of these polls. The voters at the end of the day, and look, a lot of people don't tell the truth to pollsters when they call. I've been called by pollsters, and look, I just think it's an inaccurate metric, and they really haven't caught up with changing times of calling cell phones even. So it's just, I'd love to know, Jenna, how they still are employed.
Yeah, well, I would too. And I think it's because, unfortunately, we keep citing them. But Rob Patillo, I think everybody wants to know, why on earth are Democrats still supporting Joe Biden?
Joe Biden's been the most successful first-term president we've seen since FDR, quite frankly. When it comes to what the challenges he faced coming in, overcoming a global pandemic, stitching the nation back together after January the 6th, bringing together what they said was an impossible political divide in Washington to pass things to the CHIPS Act, Chips and Science Act, the Infrastructure Bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, having 64 consecutive months of inflation reduction, 24 consecutive months of unemployment under 4%. You can go down the line. He's been an exceedingly successful president. But then on the other hand, America loves brands that we know. There's a reason they keep making more Friday the 13th movies. There's a reason that everything is a remake of something you already saw and heard in the 80s. Americans right now are very hesitant to jump onto new brands and new ideas, and would rather see, another Arnold Schwarzenegger still making movies as an action star, and he's in the 70s and 80s for this exact reason. I think President Biden is finally catching on and saying, look, instead of trying to fight back against the idea that you are an old person, embrace it. Pull it in.
Yeah, really well said. We got to leave it there. And maybe that's part of the issue with Republicans as well, is that they just still want to go with the Trump brand instead of embracing the new and younger. But we'll be right back with more here on Jenna Ellis Tonight. Throughout history, there are clear moments that define our nation's path, and now you can own a piece of that history. I'm thrilled to announce the official Newt Gingrich contract with America coin from our friends at Legacy Precious Metals in partnership with Speaker Gingrich. This limited edition 1 ounce 99.99% silver coin commemorates the historic victory in 1994 when the Republican Party, under Speaker Gingrich's guidance, took control of Congress. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin also symbolizes the transformative political platform that led to the landmark achievements like the overhaul of the U.S. welfare system and the Balanced Budget Act. This is a limited edition coin that will sell out. So whether you're looking for the perfect gift or you want to own a piece of history, act fast before they run out. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin is more than an investment. It's a tribute to honest government and America. You can order it online at newtgingrichsilvercoin.com. That's newtgingrichsilvercoin.com, and use promo code Jenna, that's JENNA, to get $10 off your purchase. Go to newtgingrichsilvercoin.com now. Breaking today, a new lawsuit has been filed against the NCAA to protect women's sports. So this press release coming from the Independent Council on Women's Sports, it says ICONS, which is, of course, the acronym for the Independent Council on Women's Sports, has announced exclusive funding support for a critical lawsuit against the National Collegiate Athletic Association, or the NCAA. The lawsuit on behalf of 16 former and current female collegiate athletes includes Riley Gaines, Kaitlynn Wheeler, among others, and 4 other athletes proceeding under pseudonyms to protect them from retaliation and reprisal. Quote, this lawsuit against the NCAA isn't just about competition. It's a fight for the very essence of women's sports, says ICON's co-founder Marcy Smith, a collegiate All-American and NCAA national champion swimmer. We're standing up for justice and the rights of female athletes to compete on a complete on a level playing field. This is about preserving the legacy of Title IX and ensuring that the future of women's sports is as bright as its past. The athletes are challenging the NCAA regulations allowing male athletes to compete in women's sports. The suit follows in the wake of a legal demand letter sent by the Independent Council on Women's Sports in 2023. The lawsuit seeks to change the NCAA's policies that allow male athletes who identify as transgender to participate in women's sports. The plaintiffs, representing a broad coalition of female athletes across multiple sports, argue the NCAA's regulations compromise the fairness and integrity of women's competitive sports and discriminate against women, including violating Title IX's core principles. So joining me now is one of the plaintiffs, Kaitlynn Wheeler, who is a collegiate athlete. And Kaitlynn, thank you so much, first of all, for standing up for fairness in women's sports and simply the truth.
Thank you so much, Jenna. Yeah, it's crazy. I honestly never thought that I would be sitting here today having to file a lawsuit for this issue. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us sitting here in 2024 thinking this is really the biggest issue is just the biological difference between men and women. I mean, didn't we resolve this at literally God's creation? But this is important to preserve Title IX and to essentially compel the NCAA to recognize that men competing in women's sports is unfair and it's against biology. And so, from your own personal experience, how has this affected the integrity of women's sports?
Yeah, Jenna, it's drastically. I know we've seen in the past years many cases where it's impacted women, not just taking away opportunities, but the safety of women's sports as well. I believe this lawsuit is just a huge step in the right direction. Historically, I believe this is one of those pivotal moments where we're not only fighting for women's sports, we're fighting for women's rights, and those rights being fairness, equality, and safety, which I believe everyone should want.
Yeah, and I think that's something that certainly now feminists and even conservatives can come together and form this coalition to say, well, wait a minute, I thought we've been fighting for women's rights. What happened here? And so, what has been the tenor on college campuses, including your own, when the national leftist media would like to suggest that everybody is super on board with transgender policies and we need to affirm, these men who want to become women? Is that what you're seeing on the collegiate level with your fellow actually female competitors, or are they overall really frustrated with this and want to see fairness?
I think the media does a terrible job of correctly representing the people who actually support this. The majority of people see the common sense in this. They see that allowing males to compete against females is wrong. It's unfair. It's unsafe. And so I think it's important. That's one of the reasons why this lawsuit is so important is to let people know what's happening and make them realize that this is wrong, to also demand that the NCAA change its policies and start protecting women, because it's happening. It's real. We're seeing it on a daily basis now. I see cases all the time of women losing out on opportunities, losing out on spots on teams, and having their freedoms taken away.
Yeah, and it really, for collegiate athletes like yourself, this is something that is not only a financial investment, but it's a personal investment, and it's something that men are genuinely taking away opportunities from women, even if it's not first place like it was with, of course, the most well-known instance of Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer against Riley Gaines, taking that number one spot, but even to the last competitor, that last slot, even if that's a man, that's still taking away an opportunity of a woman. So you decided, Kaitlynn, to, like some of your other co-plaintiffs, you decided to be open and be an advocate, but there are a few others that decided, because of fear of reprisal, to go by pseudonyms and to not reveal their identity. Why did you choose to stand up and reveal who you are and take a bold stand, even speaking to media on this?
Well, this goes a lot deeper than just me. My family has been affected by this. My little sister specifically has been affected by this transgender ideology. And so it's not just about me. It's not just about my little sister, but I think about all the young female athletes out there and the future ones to come. This is so important. And sports has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've had. And I really hope that we'll be able to turn this around so that way those future generations of women will be able to have those same opportunities. We'll be able to have women's sports, and we won't be doing away with women's sports.
Yeah. And so is your little sister a collegiate athlete or wants to become one as well?
She's not sure yet if she wants to move on and do college sports, but she's in high school right now and she has some time to think about it. But obviously that's a goal.
Yeah, yeah, and so you're right that this does affect more broadly, not just the collegiate athletes yourselves, but it also affects your families. It affects women who may be interested in participating future down the line in sports. And so, what is the goal of what you want to see from this lawsuit? Obviously, protecting fairness, but what would you like to see the NCAA do in terms of reversing some of the ways that they've allowed men to take over women's sports?
The goal would be to ultimately demand that the NCAA acknowledge the hurt they're causing to female athletes, and to change their policies that they have in place that are continuing to hurt women. It's so important that they do this. Not only that, but also because it's important to secure the promise that Title IX was originally intended for, and that is providing fairness, equality, and safety for women, which are its most basic job as an organization.
Yeah. Really well said. Well, Kaitlynn Wheeler, thanks so much for your time, and we'll be right back with more here on Jenna Ellis Tonight. And finally, our panel is back with us again, Rob Patillo, John Cardillo, and Robin Biro. So we have one Republican, two Democrats, but this last topic is actually bipartisan. So the U.S. House yesterday passed the TikTok legislation to try to force ByteDance to divest TikTok in order to continue usage in the U.S. But some Republicans didn't think that this legislation went far enough. This is what Thomas Massie had to say.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the other side is sincere, and we've not questioned that here today, and I won't question their sincerity. In fact, I think they've identified at least three problems that we have in America: moral decay of our society, invasion of Americans' privacy, and our competitiveness with China. But in this case, their cure is worse than the diseases. You know, there are ways to get at these root problems. We just haven't taken it upon ourselves to address those root problems with actual legislative solutions that have been put forth here in Congress. For instance, Mr. Warren Davidson's The Fourth Amendment is Not for Sale Act would put a strong stake in the ground to protect Americans' privacy, whether it's from our own government or some foreign governments. That is the kind of thing we need. We need warrants in the FISA program. Our government shouldn't be able to spy on Americans without a warrant, yet they are. Let's bring that to the floor and vote on it. These are the kind of cures we need, not the bill that's offered here today.
All right, Robin Biro, some Democrats and some Republicans did suggest that this legislation left open the door to be weaponized, kind of like what we saw the Patriot Act in the wake of 9/11, that could concern Americans' First Amendment constitutionally protected rights. What are your thoughts on the TikTok ban?
For once, I'm glad to see Republicans and Democrats working together on something bipartisanly. TikTok makes their money on collecting data and selling it, weaponizing it against us. So, this needs to be addressed. I kind of think that maybe it doesn't go far enough, though. I'll be honest with you.
And Rob, let's go to you. Do you think that this is balancing interest enough with national security versus Americans' privacy and First Amendment protections when we've seen what big tech does to censorship, even here in the United States?
Well, I think it's a good first step, and given our political environment, any bipartisan legislation is a good first step. But imagine if somebody said, hey, China would like a scan of your face, all of your pictures for the last 20 years, all of your contacts, access to your email, and access to your phone. You'll look at them, you'll say they were an insane person. But then if they give you functionalities where they can put dog ears on you and make you dance to a little soundtrack, we will willingly give that to them and actually pay them, a couple dollars to advertise it, so we'll get more views and likes. It is a very sick social media culture and incentive structure that we've created that China has figured out how to exploit and has figured out how to weaponize. Let's not forget, it was just a week ago when all the T-Mobile went out for the and Verizon went out for an entire morning. We're seeing these cybersecurity events take place over and over again. I don't think we can discount the fact that we have foreign Trojan horse software installed on many sensitive networks around the country. So yes, this is a great first step, but I think it has to go further.
Yeah, and John, to Rob's point, I mean, I wasn't aware until I was speaking with Congressman Bob Good this morning on my radio show that TikTok actually didn't just encourage people to contact their representatives. They actually didn't allow you to use the app until you entered in your zip code, and then it would call your member of Congress's office for you to then let you use the app. I mean, this is coercive lobbying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have TikTok installed on any of my devices. I just don't like it. I think the bill goes too far in many respects and not far enough in others. Very simple. Why don't we call out China in the bill? I mean, the bill is obviously draconian and can be weaponized. There's a provision in the bill, I read part of it, where an industry coalition for sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor have a carve out. If you're a site for reviews, you won't be touched. You can't be affected. So they're very worried about the dangers of arbitrary deployment of this should it become law, and shutting down sites over any type of dissent. It might not even have to be political dissent. If you give a bad review to the president of the United States' favorite restaurant or his cousin's restaurant that his cousin might own, can they shut you down? So I think it's overbroad in that respect. It could have been simplified by just naming nations of concern. We did it after 9/11, right? We named nations of terror concern. We can name nations of cyber intrusion concern and limit the bill to them. So I'm with something has to be done, but I am with Massey insofar as the fear of it being weaponized against what the current administration doesn't like, because we see it happen time and again.
Yeah, and Robin, do you think that this was really a concession on Republicans' part to have this type of win for Democrats and Biden heading into the 2024 election to say, he has said that he's going to sign the legislation if it passes through the Senate, and now he can say that he's been tough on China when the Democrats are ignoring some of the other major concerns about China, which include overt spying through other means, through the CCP pharmaceuticals, and having kind of that control over the supply chain and some of these other things that we're actually concerned about that Congress isn't addressing.
Look, I've got 2 school-age children, and I'll tell you that at the middle school, they were freaking out about the ban on TikTok. I think that this is actually unpopular with young voters, and it's actually going to hurt Biden in some respects, but it's the right thing to do because TikTok, yes, they collect our data, but they're not doing much of anything to protect the data that they collect. And that is where we have a problem, and that's what legislators are seeking to address. I'm all for it.
All right. So, Rob, in just the last 30 seconds, we'll give you the last word here in terms of the political heading into 2024. Do you think that it is a Republican concession in giving Biden basically a good talking point against the whole Beijing Biden that we saw from the Trump campaign in 2020?
I think it goes forward towards what President Biden has done with relation to China. Remember, since he entered office, we've seen the entire banking sector of China collapse in the Evergrande scandal. We've seen the AUKUS alliance take place from the U.S., Australia, and the U.K. We've seen the trilateral agreement between Japan, Korea, and the United States. We've seen us normalize relations with both Central Asian republics as well as Vietnam, and create what they call the string of pearls, which surrounds China and South China Sea. We've reestablished relations with the Philippines, building 9 additional bases there. We've expanded our footprint in Guam as well as Rio Garcia, as well as strengthening the Strait of Malacca. So President Biden has done more in his first 4 years to contain and push back China, particularly with our allies in the South China Sea, than any president again has done since the Chinese Revolution, which is why I think President Biden is just going to add this as another feather in his cap going into re-election.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, gentlemen. And John, really well done holding your own against the 2 Democrats. That's all the time that we have for Jenna Ellis tonight. You can always reach me and my team, Jenna, at thesalemnewschannel.com.